I would consider myself fairly familiar with animated television shows. In fact, mostly all of my favorite forms of geek culture originate from animation. So it comes to no surprise that I was interested by the very visual appeal that Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts presented. To say that this show does things differently would be a massive understatement, and an insult to the very powerhouse that is this story thus far. To fully grasp exactly what it is that Kipo nails perfectly, we must also observe all the shots missed by the highly ambitious show. Before we begin, I will note that I will try and avoid any major spoilers for the series, and when discussing basic plot points, they will be kept minimal and short, only scratching the surface as to not ruin anything for anyone thinking about watching anytime soon. So, without further ado, let's discuss exactly what makes Kipo special in an already crowded realm of animation. Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeast was initially created as a webcomic by Radford Seacrest before gaining enough traction to eventually be funded by DreamWorks as a Netflix animated show, with Seacrest taking on the role of executive producer throughout the whole joint project. The project was shown off at the Annecy International Animated Film Festival before being released on January 14th, 2020. The basic synopsis is nothing to write home about, at least at first. Kipo follows a young girl by the name of, Kipo, as she is thrust out into a new environment from her previous world of an underground shelter. It isn't even a full 3 minutes in that we begin to realize that the character we're presented with is a very optimistic individual, as even with the prospect of being dragged away from the only home she's known, Kipo is extremely energetic to explore the dystopian world that encompasses the entirety of our setting. Through her analysis, she comes across unlikely allies that join forces with Kipo to help her find a way back to the bunker that she originates. The group are far from alone, however, as the landscape is dominated by mutant animals, many of whom are actively trying to capture or kill Kipo and her new friends. It is only through love and friendship and you get the idea. It is a fairly campy cartoon, though that's not the point I'm trying to make. What is the point is that Kipo in the Age of the Wonderbeast is actively attempting to breach into a different world of storytelling. Kipo as a television series doesn't do anything incredibly groundbreaking. In fact, there are countless other shows that I think handle a dystopian world better than Kipo. But the thing that sets this cartoon aside from others is the fact that Kipo wastes no time on trying to figure itself out. Even the best shows falter sometimes, especially when deciding exactly what kind of theme they want to roll out. Will it be a character-focused drama that teaches you the meaning of caring about junk? Or will it be an action-adventure that relies on the extensive world building to get the point across? There are a plethora of different examples, and all of them are great in their own ways, but so many properties make the mistake of dipping their feet into too many pools of water. That eventually makes their premise confusing to the fans that follow it. One amazing example of this comes from one of my favorite television shows of all time, The Legend of Korra. As amazing as the themes were in The Legend of Korra, it's not difficult to argue that it fell short in a lot of different ways. Primarily, the show struggled to form an identity for itself, attempting to first run full force behind the heels of The Last Airbender, before diverging into political commentary, and finally taking time as a character formulator for more individuals other than Korra. The Legend of Korra finished splendidly, but certainly not with grace. Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeast, however, is very much a testament of a modern story, informing the audience that this was the story of Kipo and her friends, with the world only being an accessory to the already established storytelling. Aside from our titular character, Wolf and Benson are some of the most interesting inclusions for the series, as both represent two very stark differences for Kipo as an individual. For instance, Wolf represents the primal fear and survival instincts needed to thrive in the apocalypse, whereas Benson shows off a much more lax and fluid personality with his take on life. These two outlooks can easily be seen as Kipo's moral compass of sorts, but more so in how she handles survival now that she no longer has solitude in a bunker. I've watched plenty of feels-good animated shows and films, and although they get the general message across alright, I feel as though Kipo nails it directly on the head with optimistic disdain. Let me explain. Throughout the entirety of Season 1, Kipo is shown to always be right with her ingenuity and general hunches, which can be seen as one of the main downsides to her character in the show in large, though if that's one of the main arguments against it, I think Kipo will be alright. Anyways, I digress. Even with this general correctness at every turn, the message still matters a lot. It is from each crossroad that they encounter a bloodthirsty mutant, or to a hospitable group that Kipo and her friends become not only close to each other, but to themselves. Positivity allows the darkest moments to be outshined by optimism for a better future for all, as that is all the group can think about, the future that looks brightest. I believe in uncertain times as these, the messages of Kipo are just the right amount of cheesy, accompanied by some solid truth that helps spark more hope for what comes next. Music does not have to be a defining attribute of any television show. In fact, the only time that music really ever gets brought up in animation is when it is particularly exceptional. And Kipo is the incarnation of wonderfully blended music with an atmosphere that molds to the melody itself. The sheer variety of titles and genres help define the show as brave with their choices, not allowing themselves to ride safely with popular songs, which arguably could have had the same impact, but instead took it upon themselves to create mostly all original scores alongside the talented cast present. I'm obviously very new to the whole YouTube thing, so showing any of these amazing songs would probably be a bad idea, though I really do recommend listening to some. Nearly every music streaming service has the album so far. When the music is presented in the series, it is almost always amazingly handled, and it doesn't feel overly campy. Also, P.S. I know I keep going back to the whole campy trope, but it's seen an awful lot, especially in DreamWorks animations. The world of Kipo seems to revolve heavily around the music choices as well, with entire species relying on it to survive. And I mean, sure, it's a cartoon, obviously there are going to be some weird things that don't logically add up, but the fact that music is an important aspect to Kipo in the Age of the Wonderbeasts is still very much factual. If all of the different opinions don't really resonate with you, that's okay. And if you feel yourself a little disappointed by the series so far, I for one find myself wanting more in numerous different fields, namely the animation, then you're in luck. Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeast has a second season arriving on June the 12th, which is soon I imagine. I'll be honest, I have no idea when I'll be able to actually finish this analysis, but we'll be receiving another 10 episodes, which will hopefully give us some more from the series' highs rather than just the lows found so far. Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeast is on the tracks to become one of my favorite animated series, and if the second season continues the power from the last season and reinforces everything that made the first series such an enjoyable ride, then I think the position may already have a placeholder with its name on it. If nothing else, I hope to have persuaded some people to actually just look at the series. There's only 10 episodes so far, and that's just a long afternoon. Or several, most of us are locked up at home for the moment anyways. The characters present in Kipo are really some of the most extraordinarily unique and personalized people that I have witnessed out of animation in a long time. The ride is enjoyable, it is short, and most importantly, it's easy to get a hold of. Those three things alone should give plenty of reasoning to watch Kipo in the Age of the Wonderbeast. Also, you get to witness Sterling Brown as Dad of the Year, and nothing else beats that.